Hi, folks. It's Larry Talks. It's March 30th, 2020. The topic of this program is homophobia, a review of a fantastic documentary called Gay Hollywood, The Last Taboo. And so this is really a review of that film. I highly recommend you see it. And you can see it free on YouTube, the whole program, about an hour and 15 minutes. This review will take about 15 minutes. So what does this film say? I mean, it was insightful to me because it confirmed something I have always believed. And what I've always believed is what Kinsey proved in 1955. There is no such thing as homosexuality. Gay is homophobic. That's hard to swallow, huh? And this film really proves it better evidence than anything I've ever seen. But my reason for thinking this way came from teaching history of art for 33 years. And the Romans and Greeks never had a word for homosexuality or homoeroticism. The reason being that if you sex with men was with your own sex was sex. So why would you separate it and say it's something else? Duh. Well, we did that. Well, why did we do it? Because the Industrial Revolution wanted to make marriage a manufacturing system for babies and get men to think that sex was about nothing but having babies and making families, which is nothing wrong with that. But the problem is the real motive that nature gives to men is sex is for pleasure. And the proof of that is 80% of them get divorced over a lifetime so that they can do whatever they want with their sex. And the second argument that everybody knows is men are so poor at giving women orgasms. 50% of women married 25 years have never experienced orgasm. Why is that? Men wouldn't tolerate that. Why? Because it's about pleasure. Well, that's what homophobia is the denial of the fact that men just want to have fun. That's the truth. And then, I mean, it scares heterosexuals that homosexuals want to have fun. And oh my God, we can't allow that, can we? Okay, so I want to say how this film proves this. I bet you've never heard of the name Will Hayes. Will Haynes, Haynes, was the most famous actor in the history of Hollywood. Up until 1930, he lived with Jim Shields, and in 1930, Mayor said, "You either get rid of that guy, or I'm firing you." And he said, "Sure, I'll get rid of him. You get rid of your wife." And so he left, and had a successful career in home decorating for the rest of his life. But you've never heard of him, even though he was more famous in 1930 than Valentino, because he played heterosexual roles, but he was gay. Now, this film, Gay Hollywood, The Last Taboo, is an update of the celluloid closet. And I'll just tell you one way in which really kind of blew me away was when the celluloid closet said, "Oh, Cary Grant, we don't know whether he was gay or not." In this one, they say he was so gay. He lived with Randolph Scott for 10 years, married, and then went crazy and went back to Randolph Scott. That's what this film says. Now, they knew this back in the celluloid closet. Why didn't they say it? Because the Hollywood thing is that gays don't have a right to exist. Oh, well, now they do legally. Oh, what are we going to do about that? Well, we're not going to give them any heterosexual... This is what the film proves. All kinds of examples. Straight men can play gay men, but gay men can't play lead heterosexual roles. That's the last taboo. Well, the real last taboo is gayness doesn't exist in Hollywood. We're going to pretend on the screen it does not exist. and Cary Grant, kind of interesting. He did what they told him to do. He got married, but it didn't work. Rock Hudson was interesting because he married and just did whatever he wanted on the side. I guess they had an agreement. And there have been a lot of Hollywood actors like that. My great example, and I think really shows it real well, is poor guy just died. The most famous cowboy actor. And look for his name. I wrote it down here. Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas played Van Gogh. And the latest is that Van Gogh, well, I think it's still questioned in the film that Van Gogh was in love with Gauguin. But the sexual element of it doesn't come out till recently. I mean, they say they have evidence of it. I believe it. And John Wayne did too, who worked with Kirk Douglas, and he said, so the Van Gogh film was made in 56, or around 56. And I did my master's thesis in Van Gogh, on Van Gogh, and I read all the letters, and that film is the best portrayal of Van Gogh I've ever seen. I mean, an authentic, what he was really like. And John Wayne said, how could you let yourself do that? A cowboy. And Kirk Douglas said, well, I'm an actor. I'm an actor. Just like the guys who played in the Liberace movie, right? Totally heterosexuals and playing gay guys. How could they do it? They're good. They were really good acting in that film. So, who else? Marlon Brando was. Marlon Brando held the. Let me explain that. This is really important because this is the truth. My thesis and the thesis of the film. There is no such thing as gay sex. There is homoeroticism, and that is something that's in everybody. Homophobia, two principles. One is it denies that. It denies what is known as the Kinsey scale, the most advanced thought of 1955. The Kinsey scale's 1,600 men, and it said, have you ever had sex with a male? The younger you get, the more frequent. 16 had the most frequent, 75%. And then you go up and, well, have you ever had sex with a male? 75% said yes. And the further down you go, the more frequent that data becomes. And he asked the question, how many have you had as much sex with men as you have with women? 50%. And then, well, anyway, he has a scale, and he shows you how many people. In other words, the scale says that sexuality goes all along this scale. And I guess the one that really freaks people out is the effeminate bottom gay, and they're a very small number. I'll tell you another evidence of this scale is I've been 20 years on dating sites, and on the dating sites, 90% of the men say they're married to a woman. So where's the gay? Where is this gay stuff? It's not on websites. And the other thing, that my whole point is what the fear is men admitting that all they do is want to have fun. That's why they get divorced, 80% of them. And the fear of admitting that sex is about fun for men. And we all know that, but we just want to lie about it. Because why? Because the industrial model says the purpose of sex is to make babies, produce workers, and make society work for the consumers. That's a 19th century concept. They say that even in Western society, the word homosexuality did not occur until the 19th century, till industrialization, because that formed the whole idea of the consumer society. was going to give another argument here on this idea of boys just want to have fun. Well, over 10 minutes here. What else can I say? This is a great film. You have to see it. I'm not a big Hollywood fan that much, but it really gives good evidence. And it goes on and says, well, here's the old taboo. The old taboo was you got married and you presented yourself. And I have to say, Rock Hudson, he did everything they wanted him to, and he did all the sex he wanted on the side. He had lots of fun. So I'm not sad the way he died of AIDS, but everybody liked him, and he liked everybody, and he had a good life. I don't think it ended too soon. But I didn't know that Cary Grant. Well, see, Cary Grant was so troubled by his gayness, so that's too bad. Sal Mineo, Marlon Brando, James Dean. There's a scene in this film where they showed Marlon Brando kissing James Dean on the lips. That's funny. What else? So, to summarize again, the idea here is, and this wonderful film I think proves it, that Hollywood, even after it becomes normal to be gay in the society, Hollywood says, well, it doesn't exist. Out gay actors cannot play heterosexual lead roles. So, that's the theme. And it doesn't really give the reason why. I'm trying to give the reason why. The reason men argue that, John Wayne would argue that Kirk Douglas was betraying his heterosexual macho self, was that men just don't fall in love with men. And Kirk Douglas's answer would be, well, I'm an actor, and Van Gogh did, and I'm not going to lie about it. Well, that's kind of refreshing, isn't it? Kirk Douglas was always someone who was so straightforward and honest. I mean, he was a great, great actor. So that's all I have to say. Next program, this is Larry Talks, March 30th, 2020. Probably the fourth program of the season. I have one on God, I have 3 more programs I've put on recently. And the next one will be on gay dating sites, what I've learned in 20 years from looking at that. So each of these programs are about 15 minutes long. If you want to comment, I'm larry.moorman@aol.com. LARRY.MOORMAN@AOL.com. I will try to answer. Once in a while, I do a program of nothing but answering questions on programs. So I'll probably do that down the line when I get enough questions, comments. By the way, I'm surprised to see I did one on Michael Jackson leaving Neverland. 400 hits already. And we haven't even gone on our gay site where they do thousands. I mean, I'm a professor, and I don't advertise, but there's a site called Eric Lassard's who takes my stuff and puts it on his site and gets thousands of hits. So that's really my audience. Although I'm surprised to see that on the Leaving Neverland video that's on the new season of Larry Talks has over 400 hits on it. I didn't advertise at all. So that's cool.